Okay, picture this: small, quiet town, perfect lawns, nosy neighbors, the kind of place where everyone knows your business, or at least they think they do. And then bam, one teenage girl goes missing, another teenager ends up dead, and the whole town decides it's all tied up neatly in a bow. Case closed, nothing more to see here. But here's the wild part: what if the guy everyone thought was guilty wasn't guilty at all? What if the whole thing was way darker, way messier, and involved secrets so twisted you wouldn't believe them if you didn't see the receipts? That's exactly where A Good Girl's Guide to Murder kicks off, and buckle up, because this story is not just a straight line, it's a whole spider web, and every thread leads to another jaw drop. Our main girl is Pippa Fitz-Amobi, Pip to her friends. She's this super smart, kind of nerdy, straight-A senior who's obsessed with rules, logic, and doing things the right way. But don't get it twisted. She's not boring. She's sharp, witty, and low-key fearless in a way that sometimes makes you want to scream at her, "Girl, stop poking the bear," because she does not know how to back down. On the outside, she's the model student, the daughter your mom wishes you were. But inside, Pip is carrying this obsession, an ache really, because 5 years ago, Andie Bell, the it girl of their town, vanished without a trace. Her boyfriend, Sal Singh, was blamed. Everyone says he killed her, then killed himself. Boom. Boom. Done. Except Pip never bought it. Sal was kind, gentle, one of the few older kids who ever treated her like she mattered. She just knows in her gut that the story doesn't add up, and when senior year rolls around, she decides she's going to use her school project, her extended project qualification, basically a long-term research paper, as cover to dig into the case. Sounds innocent, right? Except she's about to rip open every buried secret little Kilton's been hiding. So first stop, the Singh family's house. Already you feel the tension. These people have been shunned by the whole town for years. Doors slammed in their faces, whispers every time they walk into a store. Pip knocks anyway, and she meets Ravi Singh, Sal's younger brother. And wow, talk about awkward introductions. Pip starts rambling random trivia facts like she's auditioning for a TED Talk no one asked for, but Ravi, once he gets over his suspicion, realizes she's not like everyone else. She actually thinks his brother might be innocent. For the first time in 5 years, someone isn't looking at him like he's carrying his brother's sins. Slowly, cautiously, he agrees to talk to her. And honestly, this moment is huge. It's the spark that lights the fuse for everything that comes after. Pip starts piecing together the timeline. Andie Bell was last seen April 20th, 2012. Her sister Becca saw her around 10:30 p.m., then a CCTV camera caught her car leaving at 10:40. She never made it to pick up her parents later that night. Meanwhile, Sal had been hanging out with his friends Naomi, Max, Jake, and Millie. At first, they all swore he was with them until after midnight. Solid alibi. But then, plot twist, they changed their story. Suddenly they're saying, "Oh wait, actually Sal left at 10:30 and he asked us to lie." A few days later, Sal's body shows up in the woods. They find Andie's phone on him, her blood under his fingernails, and his fingerprints in her abandoned car. Case shut, right? Not so fast. Because here's the thing, stuff doesn't line up. Pip interviews Stanley Forbes, the journalist who covered the case, and he's like, "Yeah, Sal's guilty, no doubt." He even drops this bomb that Andie had a death threat note in her locker. Pip's like, "Wait, why didn't anyone talk about this before?" She's already seeing cracks in the official story. And then Ravi drops another perspective. Sal had been calling Andie over and over after she disappeared. Does that sound like a guilty guy who just murdered his girlfriend? No. Plus, Sal once told Ravi he thought Andie might run away to punish someone. Suspicious much? Suddenly, Jason Bell, Andie's dad, goes on Pip's list because he was shady from the beginning, even talking about Andie in past tense right after she went missing. From there, things spiral. Pip starts talking to Sal's friends, and the contradictions start rolling in. Naomi says Sal left because he was upset after a fight with Andie. Max says nope, he just quietly slipped out. Which is it? Oh, and by the way, Naomi conveniently disappeared upstairs for a big chunk of that night. And Ravi swears Naomi had a crush on Sal. Cue side-eye. But Pip doesn't stop. She digs deeper, interviews Andie's so-called besties, Emma and Chloe, and what comes out? Andie was not the sweet golden girl everyone pretended she was. She was manipulative, cruel, loved twisting the knife, And she had secrets. Big ones. She was getting money from somewhere. She wasn't actually sleeping with Sal, and she had this older mystery guy she bragged she could ruin. Pip literally catfishes people to dig for dirt and uncovers that Andie knew her dad was cheating on her mom too. So, yeah, everyone's looking guilty at this point. And then things get creepy. Pip goes camping with her friends for Kara's birthday, and guess what she finds in her sleeping bag? A printed note that says, "Stop digging, Pippa." Literal chills. Someone out there is watching her, and they're not playing nice. But instead of backing off like any sane person would, Pip doubles down. She rigs the Ward family's printer, her best friend Kara's house, by the way, to keep track of what gets printed, just in case. Smart girl, but also terrifying. The deeper she goes, the more secrets come out. She learns about Elliot Ward, her own history teacher, and Kara's dad, who had beef with Andie. It turns out Andie was cyberbullying Natalie Da Silva so badly, posting a topless video of her, that Elliot had to step in. Andie hated him for it. And Natalie? She admits she left the threat in Andie's locker. Oh, and Natalie's brother? He's a police officer now. Yeah, the same one who brushed off Ravi when he begged for answers. More red flags. Pip also uncovers Max Hastings' true role. Remember how he pretended he barely knew Andie? Lies. He was actually her customer because Andie was dealing drugs. Max was buying Rohypnol, a date rape drug. Dark. Pip confirms this by sneaking into his private Facebook and spotting a photo from the night Andie disappeared. The timestamp shows 12:09 a.m., and guess what? Sal is in the reflection, wearing that same blue shirt. Boom. His alibi is real. He could not have killed Andie. He was framed. This should be the moment Pip celebrates, right? Wrong. Because this is when the killer realizes she's too close. Her dog Barney gets kidnapped, and she's told to destroy all her research if she wants him back. She does it, heartbroken, but Barney still turns up dead. And this scene, it wrecks you, because it's not just about a dog, it's about how far someone will go to silence the truth. You feel Pip's grief, her rage, her determination. This is no longer just a school project, this is personal. And then comes the biggest twist yet. Pip discovers that Elliot Ward, the respectable teacher, the guy who lectures about honesty and ethics, is the one who framed Sal. He had an affair with Andie, fought with her the night she disappeared, and thought he killed her when she hit her head and ran off. To cover his tracks, he blackmailed Naomi and her friends into ditching Sal's alibi, then murdered Sal and staged it as suicide. Oh, and for extra nightmare fuel, Elliot kidnapped a runaway girl months later, convinced himself she was Andie, and kept her locked up in his house. Like, excuse me? But even that's not the final twist. The real killer of Andie? It's Becca, her own sister. After Andie came home that night concussed, Becca confronted her about Max raping her at a party. Andie, being her cruel self, didn't care. Becca snapped, pushed her, and watched as Andie choked and died. Then she dumped her body in a septic tank. And when Pip started getting too close to the truth, Becca became unknown, sending threats, killing Barney, trying to drug Pip to death in the woods. If Ravi and Pip's dad hadn't shown up in time, yeah, she'd have been another victim. The fallout is massive. Elliot gets charged with Sal's murder and kidnapping. Becca goes down for manslaughter. Max finally gets exposed for drugging and assaulting girls. And Pip, she presents her findings to the whole school, finally clearing Sal's name. Ravi gets to stand on stage and say his brother wasn't a monster. He was kind, good, and innocent. And for once, the whole town has to face the truth they buried for 5 years. And that's the story. Messy, tragic, and unforgettable. It's about lies that fester, secrets that rot communities from the inside, and one determined girl who refused to let the truth stay buried. But here's the real kicker. If you were Pip, would you have kept digging even after the first threat? Or would you have let the past stay buried? Either way, that's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and trust me, it only gets wilder in the sequels. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know who you suspected first and if you ever would have guessed Becca. And hey, if you liked hanging out in this little midnight story time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so we can dive into more books and unravel more secrets together.